Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Phil. Welcome to a new video. We're looking at the Pentium 2 300 and why this processor was able to sell for $1,981 back in the day. Previously on Phil's Computer Lab, we had a look at some Slot 1 CPUs, checked out the 3DFX Voodoo difference, had a look at guides for boosting DOS performance and how to configure the MS-DOS mode, and we had a look at gaming on an NVIDIA Workstation graphics card. In this video about the Pentium 2 300 there is lots of information, so throughout the video I will put in some gaming footage to break it up a little bit. Tomb Raider is an action-adventure video game developed by Core Design and published by Eidos Interactive. We've got the game running in DOS at 640 by 480 and we're getting around 15 to 20 FPS. It is playable, but it could certainly run a lot smoother. The Pentium 2 300 launched in May of 1997 for a ridiculous price of $1,981. I actually had to look up in a few sources just to be sure. Accounting for inflation, we're talking about $3,500 in today's money. That's a really extreme price. So hopefully we can shed some light on why Intel charged so much for this CPU. Let's have a look at the competition. The Pentium 2 300 went against the 233 and 266 Pentium 2s. From Intel also was the Pentium MMX 200. The 233 model wasn't out just yet at that time. And from AMD, the main competitor, we had the K6 running at 166, 200 and 233 MHz. The Pentium 2 300 has a frontside bus of 66 MHz, a 4x multiplier, which gives it a core clock of 300 MHz. It has 512 kilobytes of level 2 cache, running at half the clock speed, which is 150 MHz.
What's happening?
Dark Forces 2 is a first-person shooter released on September 1997 by LucasArts. This is the GOG version. It actually runs straight from the folder. It is pretty playable. I believe there's a FPS cap inside the game, although I did force VSync off in the driver, so there shouldn't really be anything going on. However, the game hovers around the 50 FPS mark and doesn't really manage to get above 60 FPS. So maybe there's some kind of a VSync or FPS limit going on. A few dips below, but they are fairly infrequent. So this game is really running well on this machine. The Pentium 2 300 is the hottest Pentium 2 out there, consuming 43 watts. It is still manufactured on the older 350nm process and has a 2.8 volt core voltage. Just like the 266 model, there are two versions of the Pentium 2 300. We've got the older Klamath core, which is in the 350nm process, 2.8 volts, 43 watts, and comes with a downwards unlocked multiplier. The newer Pentium 2 300 is based on the Deschutes core, 250nm, 2 volts core voltage, only 18.6 watts, but it has a locked multiplier. The CPU is readily available on eBay and fairly cheap. I had a look at some listings. You're looking around $15 to $20, and do check that a cooler is included. Often with the Pentium 2 CPUs, they usually strip the cooler, so double check. You might get a slightly better deal if a cooler is included. Total Annihilation is a real-time strategy video game created by Cave Dog Entertainment under the guidance of lead designer Chris Taylor. Now, I don't have an FPS counter or charts for this game, however it runs fine. You can actually go in the options and change the game speed. And this is a really good game. I started playing it and before you know it, I was 4 missions into the campaign. Okay, let's have a look at some DOS benchmarks. We're starting off with 3D Bench, and we can see that the Pentium 2 300 is clearly in the lead. Same goes for Chris's 3D Bench, it is the fastest processor. In Doom, the trend continues. The Pentium MMX 233 is still the fastest CPU in this game. In Quake, the Pentium 2 300 also manages a decent lead. Looking at 640 by 480 resolutions in PC Player benchmark, once again the Pentium 2 300 is in front. Same goes for Quake. And in Duke Nukem 3D, this is another game that for whatever reason runs better on the MMX 233. So to summarize it, the Pentium 2 300 is the fastest processor in most DOS games. However, in Doom and Duke Nukem 3D, the MMX 233 is still in front. Wing Commander Prophecy is the 5th installment in the Wing Commander science fiction space combat simulator franchise of computer games. The game was released in 1997, produced by Origin Systems and distributed by Electronic Arts. This game is very playable. I had a look on the PC Gaming Wiki and it seems this has a built-in frame limit. We are running basically at 30 FPS locked. Let's have a look at some Windows benchmarks. First up, we've got 3D Mark 2000. In incoming, 4 FPS separates the 300 from the 266. In GL Quake, we're also getting a nice performance boost. Same goes for Quake 2. In Quake 3, we're getting 2 frames more than the Pentium 2 266. In MDK 2, we can also see that the Pentium 2 300 is a little bit faster. And the same goes for Expendable. Motor Racer is an arcade-style motorcycle racing game developed by Delphin Software International and published by Electronic Arts. It features both dirt and street bikes and a variety of tracks. This game is very playable. The FPS do vary with the number of riders on the screen, especially in the beginning we're getting around 40 to 50 FPS, but later when you're riding on your own, we're getting well over 60 FPS. There are some graphics errors with the enemies, you can see it in the video. However, the game does come with lots of command line options for tweaking, so there's likely a way to fix this. The Pentium 2 300 has an unlocked multiplier, but only going downwards. So I was able to run the processor at 133, 166, 200, 233 and 266 MHz. This is useful if you want to play some older games that might be speed sensitive. So we had a look at the performance and the benchmarks, but now we got to figure out why is this processor so expensive. The first thing we need to do is look at the performance in relation to the competition that was available, which is the Pentium MMX running at 200 MHz and the K6. And looking at the competition, it is insane how powerful the Pentium 2 300 really was. This is nothing like what we have today, where a new processor gives you 10% performance boost and doesn't really get you excited. Back in those days, this was a massive leap in performance, and basically Intel could charge whatever they wanted to charge. There was no competition. You got an insane performance boost. I mean, we're talking up getting a new machine and suddenly your games would run at double the speed. Yes, you can basically charge whatever you want. And the other possible reason for the higher price might be yield. This CPU is the hottest Pentium 2 and it does draw the most power, so maybe they had yield issues and they just couldn't get enough 300 MHz processors out the factory door. So there you have it, guys. This is a really cool retro gaming CPU. Quite special having this CPU in your hands and realizing how much it cost back in the day, but these days it's cheap as chips. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. On the screen a couple of links of other videos that you might find interesting. As always, subscribe, like, dislike, share and comment down below, and I see you next week with another video.